Welcome to ASEAN Business Report in the middle of the week today. Today is the 28th Wednesday of the year 2011. You are with me, Ong Anand Amatayakun.
And I'm also here with you, Natakon Pladi and Kun Ong Anand. Yesterday, we have finally seen Thai stocks in the rise, rebounding.
Right, that's good news.
The three-day plunge, which we saw global stocks plummet. And in Black Thursday, Black Friday, and Black Monday added up together, the losses to the Thai stock market accounted for over 1 trillion baht.
That's right. And linking to the local headlines we have today.
Also, with the vacant position of a particular important regulator of the Thai capital market, the Secretary General of the Securities and Exchange Commission would likely be elected next week.
That's right. That has been a vacant position from the finance minister position right now, Kun Thirachai Phuwanat Naranuban. He stepped out, so it's a big place to fill in right now.
Yes. And apparently, the candidate Kun Voraphol Sokati Yanurak would be appointed as Secretary General for the Securities and Exchange Commission next week after clearances of his qualifications. During the cabinet meeting on Tuesday, Thirachai Phuwanat Naranuban, the finance minister, proposed Voraphol as the chief of the SEC, but it was found that Voraphol did not meet the qualifications. Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has been informed that Voraphol was still serving as director of Jasmine International PLC, a listed company in the stock exchange. The SEC regulation bars a director of a listed company from serving as Secretary General to prevent a conflict of interest. Yingluck decided to jam a brake on Voraphol's appointment pending clearances of his qualifications. Voraphol is an academic specializing in finance. His career has been mostly associated with National Institute of Development Administration, or NIDA. He is now head of NIDA's Center for Increasing Competitiveness. Thirachai was forced to withdraw Voraphol's proposed appointment from the cabinet. It is likely that Voraphol would be resubmitted for cabinet approval next week after Voraphol has resigned from his directorship at Jasmine International. The position of the SEC's Secretary General has become vacant after Thirachai resigned to join the Yingluck government as finance minister. There are also 4 candidates vying for the top position at the SEC, namely Voraphol, Charlie Chantana Yingyong, currently the Deputy Secretary General of the SEC, Rapi Sucharit, a former Assistant Secretary General of the SEC and former head of Kasikorn Securities, and Chaipat Sahakun, a director of the Stock Exchange of Thailand. The search committee of the SEC gave Charlie the highest score among all candidates. Voraphol came second. However, Voraphol is a clear choice for the SEC's top job as he has strong support from the Pheu Thai party.
And our program, ASEAN TV, has been trying to get Kun Voraphol to be on the line with us today, but unfortunately he gives no comment.
And he declined to join the show.
Yes, that's right. Well, moving on to the NACC, or the National Anti-Corruption Commission, which is doing its routine for the new coming of the new cabinet of the government to check the total assets of the ministers who are in power. And starting off with the Yingluck Shinawatra on the screen. The NACC reveals the declared assets of Yingluck Shinawatra, the Prime Minister of Thailand. She has total assets of 541 million baht, while her husband, Kun Anusorn Amornchatt, he is has a total debt, but not the total assets, of a total of 369 million baht. As well as the other ministers, Kun Plot Prasop Surasawadi, the Science and Technology Minister, has a total assets of 963 million baht.
And also moving on to the Deputy Premier, Chalerm Yubamrung has a declared asset totaling at 178 million baht. Also, opposition leader, ex-premier Apisit Wechashiwa, has declared that his total assets account at 54 million baht.
Well, looking from the figures, it seems that Kunabisit has a little disadvantage. He looks a lot poorer than the rest of the ministers.
Comparatively to the governments.
That's right. Well, let's move on to the situation in Greece, as Greek Prime Minister George Papandreou won parliamentary backing for a property tax to meet deficit reduction targets required to avoid the default. Papandreou's Socialist PASOK party won the vote in Athens late yesterday by 155 to 142 after Finance Minister Evangelos Venizelos told Greeks they face economic collapse if they don't plug a budget gap that is exceeding the target set in a bailout, putting an €8 billion aid payment due next month at risk. Implementation of the measures is the biggest challenge for the government, as the trade unions and parts of the civil service will mount significant resistance, raising the risk of inertia and inaction. Wolfango Piccoli, an analyst in London at Eurasia Group, said before the vote. Concerned that a potential default in Greece could damage Europe's core countries and plunge the global economy into recession, dominated weekend talks of policymakers, investors and bankers in Washington, where the International Monetary Fund and World Bank held their annual meetings. President Barack Obama underscored the urgency when he said September 26 that European governments are trying to take responsible actions, but those actions have not been quite as quick as they need to be. Greek bonds have tumbled and credit insurance has soared, putting the chance of default at more than 90%, as Papandreou struggled to rein in the deficit and a recession deepened in its third year. Two-year note yields more than 70% now. Venizelos said yesterday he expected approval of the next loan tranche in time. Papandreou dined with German Chancellor Angela Merkel in Berlin as lawmakers in Athens voted on the tax and also ratified an upgrade of the euro area's €440 billion bailout fund. The property tax was part of a package of cuts announced earlier this month after officials from the European Union and IMF told Greece it was not meeting in terms of May 2010 rescue. The state budget deficit in 8 months to the end of August widened 22% to €18.9 billion, more than the target of €18.1 billion for the period. Greece has pledged to reduce its general government deficit to about 7.5% of gross domestic product this year from 10.5% in 2010. The property levy to be collected via the electricity bills will provide an annual yield of 1.1% of GDP. It will generate as much as €1.8 billion according to the Eurobank EFG.